Bienvenidos a una emisión más de Escenario. En esta ocasión tenemos un interesante reportaje que seguramente resultará muy atractivo para todos ustedes, así que vamos a verlo.
So MEXODUS is a two-person live loop musical about the Underground Railroad that led south into Mexico. It also parallels a story that takes place in 2025 about two artists, Nigel and Brian, who are our show's creators, and their story of meeting each other and their friendship and collaboration. So it takes place both in 2025 and in 1851, where you meet the characters of Henry and Carlos, who they create, who are two men who are meeting under a variety of circumstances, who come together to see each other across their differences and help each other find a kind of freedom. Brian and Nigel started writing the piece in 2020, and I came on with our sound designer, Misha Fixel, in 2021. It was the first time we were able to actually gather in a room together and to try to perform the piece live. And you know, we were blessed to have a number of residencies, development along the ways as they figured out first how to play the piece live. We had an incredible producer and advocate, Ken Martin, who helped us get our first production with Baltimore Center Stage and Mosaic Theater. It was Stephanie Ibarra and Reg Douglas who came together and said, you know, we're going to give this the first shot. And so we went into a first production. So much of the piece was written during that time. They were still figuring out how to play it live. And from there, you know, we took the piece to Berkeley Rep across the country, to Berkeley, California, and we're able to, again, continue to just develop it, but also develop the scale of it. You know, we knew that we wanted to fuse the aesthetic of a live concert experience with a theatrical event. It was still a story, you know, and I think early on there were some people who were like, is this just a concert? And we're like, no, there is a play in here. And so each of those productions has helped us to refine the story, refine the way in which we're telling it, but also to really refine the reason why looping is integral to the story, right? Looping becomes this metaphor for work, right? And the work that it takes to be in solidarity with each other, and the metaphor of these two men who are making this sound that is bigger than any one of them, and bigger than even the two of them could possibly make, but they do it through this act of live looping. And so it models the bigger story and the bigger themes that are underneath the play. This idea that todos estamos juntos en esto. We're all in this together, and then when we come together, we can actually make things bigger than ourselves. It's an incredible thing, you know. There's nothing like the live experience of seeing it in the theater, right? But it's also limiting to who can get there and who has access to the theater, right? And so the opportunity to be able to record this and to release it on Audible and to have as wide an audience to share this piece of history that I didn't know about before I started working on it, that I don't think a lot of people know about, and to uplift that, to uplift this story, to give people access to the joy and the knowledge that this story brings beyond just the borders of New York City, and who can get to the theater is such an incredible honor, and it's so exciting to know that people are going to get to access this play even if they didn't come to the theater, that they're going to get to experience it in some way. I always say that my entry into the theater was through my dad, who is an immigrant from Ecuador and an immigration attorney, and I would go and I would watch him in court, and I would see the ways in which he would tell his clients stories, and that had a way to affect change, right? And so being able to say, like, this story about a part of our history that we do not know, about Black and brown solidarity, which feels dangerous right now to uplift, right? Feels like people don't want us to know about moments in time where we have come together to make change, but but it's been throughout history. It's not just this moment. We've seen it in art, in culture, in society, in humanity, right? And so it feels really incredible right now to be telling a story that balances some of the counter narratives, especially around immigration, around the relationship between the United States and Mexico, around the relationships between black and brown people, and to sort of say, here is another story to sort of counterbalance some of those negative ideas that we're hearing. And it feels ever more important now to do it, and to do it in a joyful way, right? Like, it's a musical that's not didactic, it's not gonna yell at you and tell you how you should feel, but really invite you in to think about the world you wanna be a part of, and to think about the small part that we can play. You know, change doesn't have to be this huge monumental thing. It can actually be as little as reaching across a divide and helping one person. You could really change a lot.